All right, guys, so today's it. Today I finally get to watch my most anticipated movie of the year, Tenet. I'm going to the early access IMAX showing. They had some early access yesterday, but I wasn't able to get tickets for those IMAX showings from yesterday, so I just decided to go today. I'm super excited about this movie. I just finished marathoning all the Nolan movies at home. Had a great time with that, and Tenet, man, I just can't wait. It's my most anticipated movie this year. I just want to, I don't know, I have high expectations for this, so I hope that I like it. So anyways, let's head to the theater, and I'm so excited, man. Let's get started. Tenet in IMAX, let's go.
Get it up on the IMAX screen. I have my GM right now on the phone with an IMAX director, an AMC director, and our projectionist, all trying to get it up just because they're trying to get it up as soon as they can. So I'll be popping back in hopefully in another 5 to 10 minutes, hopefully way earlier than that with the movie and hopefully good news. So I'll keep you guys updated, but worst comes to worst is we do have a backup theater that will be an alternative.
Alright, guys, so I saw Tenet. I went to the early access and IMAX. It was my most anticipated movie this year, and I was so excited for this movie. And it's been, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I recorded a review for this movie a few nights ago. I wasn't really satisfied with it, so instead I'm recording another review. But this is like obviously the official one that I'm editing into the video. But I saw Tenet, and I saw it like 2 nights ago. And the reason why it kind of took me a little long to record this review is because this is one of those movies that I really needed time to digest. I really needed some time to think about this movie, what the movie stands for, what the movie means, and kind of figure out the ending, or in other ways, just watch explained videos on this movie to make sure if I exactly got the point of the movie, which for the most part I did. We'll talk about it in this review though. Of course, spoiler free, no spoilers for Tenet here, so you guys are safe to watch. I'm just gonna be as straightforward as possible to not spoil this movie for you guys. But anyways, Tenet, the newest Christopher Nolan movie, and I know there are some people that don't really like Christopher Nolan. I know some people that don't like Christopher Nolan, and I respect their opinions on that. But for the most part, for like the general audience, when you walk out of a Nolan movie, you're gonna walk out really impressed and probably amazed from what you saw, most likely. But at the same time, you're really gonna walk out confused, and he's one of those filmmakers that makes these movies that kind of make you think after you watch them, like think about the movie for basically the whole day, especially after the ending of whichever movie they watch from him. For example, Prestige is one of those movies. Interstellar was one of those movies for sure. It was pretty confusing in the last like 30 minutes of that movie. And Inception, a lot of people thought was confusing, but I thought it was kind of a straightforward story, and it was pretty easy to follow. It just really requires your attention. As for Tenet, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I was lost during this whole movie, and I think it didn't even help that the sound mixing for this movie was actually not that good, because of course this is one of those movies that you really have to pay close attention to the dialogue and kind of go along with the story and everything. And you know, obviously there's a nice score in this movie, a nice musical score, and some super loud action effects, or sound effects I should say. And there are a lot of scenes throughout the whole movie where either the musical score or the special or the sound effects washes out the audio dialogue. So sometimes it's hard to even hear the dialogue and what the characters are saying at all. So it's kind of been happening for the recent for some of the more recent Nolan movies. So there's something going on with Christopher Nolan and the sound mixing of his movies. So it really didn't help that this is one of those movies that you really have to pay close attention to but the sound mixing isn't that good, so you can't really pay attention that well to the story. Um, but as far as the actual movie goes, like the actual movie, I think it has a pretty interesting concept and a pretty interesting story that I think is one of those concepts that I think that was a little hard for Christopher Nolan to kind of put on film. I feel like this movie was supposed to be like a 3 hour long movie, and I feel like they truly did kind of cut it short a little bit. And I have no complaints with the runtime. It's 2 hours and 30 minutes, and honestly, it was actually it's kind of a well paced movie. I personally never thought it was boring. I never thought that the pacing got too slow. I never thought that it got too quick. But it was a pretty good paced movie, I'd say. Although I think that there are some scenes in the movie that just kind of drag on for a little too long. Mainly because the movie is just exposition after exposition, and then there's this cool Nolan action scene, and then you just kind of get back to like way too much exposition. So that's the way I kind of felt, and I heard other people saying the same. So I do agree with that fact. Like the movie kind of explains itself, but it's a little too complex for itself. I don't know. It's pretty confusing the way this movie was kind of the movie this way was just trying to come off, if that makes any sense. The first act of this movie, there's a lot of things going for the first act of the movie. There's a lot of plot and story details that you really need to pay attention to. At the same time, so many characters, basically all the characters in this movie, all get introduced in the first act of this movie, even the villain of the movie. And as far as the performances go, John David Washington, he's phenomenal in this movie. He really is. I think that it really shows how dedicated he was to this movie, because I saw this behind the scenes video on Instagram of him like preparing and training to basically do all these action sequences where he would fight like inverted and all that. It was awesome, and I really respect him a lot for that. Robert Pattinson was really good in this movie, and he has a lot of hype coming out of the Batman trailer, and now he's going to probably have even more hype out of Tenet. Elizabeth Debicki, she was good in this movie. I have problems with her character though. And Kenneth Branagh, I gave Kenneth Branagh so much shit for directing the Artemis Fowl movie this year, which is the worst movie I've seen this year so far. But he was good as the villain in this movie. He was maybe a little too kind of cartoonish as a villain. I don't know if that makes any sense, but once you see the movie, I think you might know what I'm talking about. But for the most part, and also we do have Aaron Taylor Johnson, who was in this movie way longer than I expected. But that's good because he's good in this movie. But yeah, the performances were good, but the characters don't really have that much character development. But the more I think about it, the more I think about how that's probably the purpose, to not have as much development for these characters, because the concept itself is already kind of a mystery. And that I think that they wanted to make the characters maybe as mysterious, and they maybe wanted you to know to not know much about these characters except for what you do know in the movie. But I think that, I don't know if that was the intention. That's the way I kind of saw it, and if it was, it kind of worked. But yeah, the movie's just way too complex. It's actually way more complex than it needs to be. Some of the inversion stuff kind of makes sense, but sometimes it doesn't really make sense. I feel like there's like some plot holes here and there within the story of the whole inversion concept. But man, when you get to the third act of this movie, the third act is phenomenal. It's something you need to watch on the big screen, and or on a large display or whatever, with the best sound. And basically every action scene in this movie filmed is, I would say they're all spectacular to watch on a much, obviously on a bigger screen, but in general, I think that the way that they were played out in the movie was really, really good. So anyways, for Tenet, I really liked the movie a lot. Maybe not as much as I was expecting it to be, but I really thought about this grade, the grade for this movie really, really well. And initially I had it just one more notch higher, but the more I think about it, it kind of went a notch below than what I expected to give this movie originally. But maybe I'll rewatch it and maybe it'll be back up to that original grade I gave it. But with that being said, I'm gonna give Tenet a B plus. And for those of you guys wondering, my original grade for this movie was an A minus, but of course I thought about it a little bit more. I thought about the what I thought about the movie overall a little bit more, and it just kind of went to a B plus. But let's just get it clear. I still like Tenet a lot. I think it's a very good movie. Perhaps it might not be Nolan's best movie, but it's still a very good movie in my opinion. And I think it's one you guys should definitely go out and watch in IMAX. If you guys feel safe enough, of course, if you guys feel safe enough to go to the movies right now, and if you do plan on watching this movie, I highly suggest paying the extra money for the IMAX experience because I think this might just be my favorite IMAX experience I have ever had. This movie was filmed with IMAX cameras, and every sequence that was shot with the IMAX camera was just made to be seen that way. Of course, the aspect ratio opens up, and you get to see more of that frame. And not only that, but you get so much immersed into the story and so much immersed into the action set piece of that scene that was filmed with the IMAX cameras. And the sound in this movie. Of course, I said that the sound mixing maybe wasn't all that good, but the sound design and in IMAX was crazy because every time, like for example, every time John David Washington would like punch a character in the chest, you could actually feel it in your chest because the bass response in this movie is so low, and the bass is just it's something. It just shook the whole theater. It's the bass response in this movie is just insane. Whether it's the action sequences, the loud gunshots, or the musical score, which gets super loud in IMAX. But at the same time, it's really the only way to really get immersed into Christopher Nolan's imagination for this movie. So I highly suggest watching this movie in IMAX if you guys do plan to watch this movie. Because like I said, this might just be my favorite IMAX experience I have ever had. But anyways, have you guys seen Tenet? If you guys seen it, what did you guys think about it? Tell me in the comment section below. As always, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.